Haha! You are a fool to dare face me. Now let me show you the grace and might of my finishing move.
Do you need a minute?
No, it's all part of my show, yes. I'm giving you one final chance before I finish you off.
Okay.
Good one, but now it's my turn, and I get to show you the might of my finishing move.
Let's get geared up.
So you want to build a swashbuckler in Pathfinder? The stylish, nimble warrior that dances in the battlefield with grace and style. As a swashbuckler, you want to focus on your dexterity above all. Not only does it boost your fighting skills and your defenses, it also makes important skills like acrobatics, stealth, and thievery more likely to succeed. But you are more than a graceful warrior. You know how to show off your skill and make it more impressive. A high charisma will boost your skills in persuasion and deception. For those few occasions, your fighting skills might not be enough. From the start, when you succeed on an action with a bravado trait, or through certain abilities, you gain panache, which allows you to use more powerful abilities. For example, if you dash between a dragon's legs using tumble through, or make a flashing move that distracts an enemy, you gain panache. While you have panache, you gain a boost to your speed and can use a finishing move to devastate your foes.
That was easy.
Of course, a swashbuckler must be agile and nimble, so we need an ancestry that gives us a boost to dexterity. You could also work with a charisma boost, so a catfolk, goblin, gnome, or halfling work quite well. A gnome is a good choice if you want to mix some magic into your routine, with some additional options to combine with your skills to weaken your enemies, but it might be too taxing on your actions. Catfolks and halflings both get multiple feats that improve your skills, and the luck feats can prevent a bad roll from stopping your show. A goblin makes for a great swashbuckler, who would have thought? With bouncy goblin, your tumble through is more likely to succeed. And later, you can also get a climb speed and a quick reposition when an ally moves close to you. You also can gain proficiency with goblin weapons, including guns. For your background, you are also looking for a boost to dexterity or charisma. Acrobat, criminal, or musical prodigy sound like common backgrounds for a swashbuckler, but may I interest you in the street food vendor? Picture your goblin juggling slices of food at enemies, tossing knives and tumbling across obstacles with ease. You also gain the seasoned skill feat, which gives you a boost when making food and drink, including potions. Depending your swashbuckling style, you can gain panache through different skills. As a battle dancer, you gain the fascinating performance feat, and when you perform a song or dance, it gains the bravado trait. A braggart gains proficiency in intimidation, and when you demoralize an enemy, that action gains the bravado trait. A fencer gains proficiency in deception, and can gain panache by creating a distraction or fainting. As a rascal, you are trained in thievery, and you also gain the dirty tricks skill feat. You fight dirty, throwing sand in the eyes of an enemy or tying their shoelaces together. And when you do, you gain panache too. A wit is clever, funny, and, well, witty. You are trained in diplomacy and gain bon mot. When you snap a witty quip, you gain panache. Finally, a gymnast gains proficiency in athletics. When you use a combat maneuver like grapple, reposition, trip, or shove, these gain the bravado trait and get you panache. For our build, we will grab the gymnast. Since we can gain panache by using maneuvers, we can weaken our enemies before striking with a finisher. Speaking of finishers, at level 1, you only start with confident finisher. If you succeed at your attack, you deal an additional 2d6 precision damage. But if you miss, you still deal half that damage. Unfortunately, using a finisher means you're done attacking for the turn. So try to use your first 2 actions to weaken an enemy using maneuvers, positioning yourself behind them, and striking with a powerful finisher. Later, you will get more powerful finishers and more ways to show off your skill, as well as more ways to weaken your enemies. As of weapons, you ideally want something with finesse, like a rapier, or agile, like a flisson. Star knife or a dagger gives you a range option. With a returning rune, which you can get fairly cheap pretty early, you will never be caught unarmed. With some feats, you can get yourself a frying pan. Is it better than a rapier? No, but it works with a street food vendor theme. level 1, you have a couple of notable feats. Flashy Dodge gives you a +2 circumstance bonus to AC. +2 might not sound like a lot, but it can be the difference between a hit or a miss, or a hit and a critical hit. Also, if the attack misses, you gain Panache. One for All is a great third action, not only setting you up to aid an ally during their turn, but also gaining the Bravado trait, giving you Panache to start your turn with a powerful finisher. Just be careful with your reactions. If you aid an ally, you won't be able to use Flashy Dodge, so plan accordingly. If you're building for thrown or ranged weapons, Flying Blade allows you to use your finisher on thrown weapons. Now you can stay safe behind your allies and remain as stylish as ever. With these 3 feats alone, you already have a strong ranged build. Gain Panache by tumbling through an enemy, strike with a finisher from range, and aid your allies outside of your turn, with the option to protect yourself with Flashy Dodge. At level 2, you have access to some powerful finishing options, like Unbalancing Finisher, making your opponent off guard until your next turn, giving your allies a huge boost to their accuracy. We can get the same benefit by tripping our enemy, so for us, this is a little redundant. If luck is not on your side, Retreating Finisher allows you to step if you miss your finisher. Of course, you can only use one of these finishers, but if you want to chain multiple finishers turn after turn, Finishing Follow Through grants you Panache if your finisher finishes your enemy. Tumbling Behind is a good choice, making enemies off guard when you use Tumble Through. Since we want to tumble through enemies often, we will gain Panache and make our enemies flat-footed, and get in a better position. Ideal, the first turn of combat, when we can't flank our enemy. But for our build, we will pick Antagonize, so your foes remain frightened until they use an aggressive action against you. Against a single foe, it's not as impactful, but if you can demoralize multiple targets, especially one that's focusing on another ally, you will get more value. At level 3, you gain the Opportune Riposte reaction, which is effectively an attack of opportunity when an opponent critically fails a strike. You also gain a Stylish Trick, giving you a free skill feat. For Swashbuckler, there's many skill feats to pick from. Dirty Trick is a great third action, especially when you already used a finisher. Bon mot is also a great choice, giving you a way to debuff the will saves of a target, and another powerful third action. Later, you will have access to Kip Up, Slippery Prey, but if you're not sure what to pick, Incredible Initiative is always a good choice. At level 4, you can pick Flamboyant Athlete, giving you a swim and climb speed equal to half your speed, which is, by the way, insanely high. You also reduce your long jump and high jump DC and increase the distance of your jumps by 5 for vertical jumps and 20 for long jumps. Sometimes it's hard to tumble through an enemy, so why not just jump through them instead? Dastardly Dash is also a great choice, allowing you to stride and use a dirty trick or a trip with the same action. If you use a trip, you would also gain Panache. Impaling Finisher is an option, allowing you to strike 2 enemies in a line. It's not gonna come up very often, but when it does...
I didn't realize that there's a perfect line.
At level 5, you have an Ancestry feat, and Kneecap is the perfect feat to pick. For an action, you can strike an enemy and reduce their speed by 10 or 15 on a crit. At level 6, Agile Maneuvers reduce the multiple attack penalty to -4 and -8 for all maneuvers, or -3 and -6 if you have Panache. Precise Finisher allows you to deal all your finisher damage to an enemy, even if you miss your strike, a powerful upgrade to Confident Finisher. Vexing Tumble is a side grade to tumble through. You can use an action to stride, and if you enter opponent's range or start it within their range, you can roll an acrobatics check and avoid reactions. If you crit, you can also get them off guard. Or you can grab Reactive Strike, being able to punish your enemies for daring to move within your range. It's level 7. You pick Kip Up. If you don't, I will appear in the middle of the night and eat your dice. At level 8, Bleeding Finisher adds persistent damage to your strikes. If you hit, your enemy also takes persistent bleeding damage equal to your precise strike. So 3d6 at this level and 4d6 next level. That's half a fireball worth of damage every turn. If you don't like the idea of dealing half a fireball of damage, Stunning Finisher can slow down an enemy or completely stop them on a crit. Another option is Dual Finisher. If you are dual wielding Pants, you can strike 2 enemies at the same time with your finisher. At level 10, you can pick Reflexive Riposte to give you an additional reaction specifically for Opportune Riposte, with Flashy Dodge, Reactive Strike, and Opportune Riposte fighting over your reaction. Having an extra reaction is very helpful, Now you can punish twice the amount of enemies for daring to fail in your proximity. Daring Do is a really powerful feat, allowing you to roll twice for skills with the Bravado trait when you already have Panache. You might wonder, why would you use a skill with the Bravado trait when you already have Panache? To which I must point out, rolling a critical success on a skill when you roll twice is really easy, and getting the extra benefit of a critical success on a skill is really good. So you might understand why more dice means more good. At level 12, Cheat Death prevents you from going unconscious when you're reduced to 0 hit points. Instead of gaining the wounded condition, you gain the doomed condition, as the Reaper approaches to claim what has been taken from him. Don't overuse this ability, you don't want to spend all your extra lives. Mobile Finisher allows you to stride and strike with one action, perfect for closing the gap and finishing combat swiftly. But we will grab the bigger they are, which gives an enemy you tumbled through weakness to your next attack, making your finisher more devastating. At level 13, we can become unbreakabler. Our Goblin heritage gives us more HP to work with, so we can try riskier stunts. Everything for the show. At level 14, Impossible Riposte gives us the ability to redirect ranged attacks that critically failed against us. The enemy wizard that felt so comfortable on the back line will be very surprised to see the lightning bolt bounce back at him. Also at level 14, Perfect Finisher allows us to roll twice for a finisher, taking the better result. If you grab Flamboyant Athlete at level 4, Flamboyant Leap allows you to jump and use a finisher in combination, doubling the distance you can jump. If you have Cloud Jump as well, that means you can attempt a finisher from an entirely different battle map. At higher levels, you gain more powerful finishers, daring skills, and gracious ripostes to dazzle your foes and amaze your allies. If you can make it that far, drop a comment below. For archetypes, there's plenty of ways to complement your build. The Acrobat has the most synergy, giving you automatic progression to acrobatics, and treating enemy spaces as normal terrain when you tumble through them. With Tumbling Strike, Graceful Leaper, and Tumbling Opportunist, you have a suite of powerful actions rooted in your tumble through. The Shadow Dancer is a high-level archetype that gives you advanced dark vision, sneak attack, magic, and the ability to jump out of an enemy's shadow and strike them. You could just pick the Rogue for additional damage and stealthier maneuvers, or Fighter, especially for double slice, combat grab, barreling stride, or any of the fun low-level fighter feats. No matter your choice, remember, style above all. Doesn't matter how much damage you can do, as long as you do it with style.
And that is how it's done.
Oh good, you're finally done. We can go to the next encounter then.
The next encounter?
Yeah, it's just two of the same guy. But you can handle one, I'm sure it will be easy.
Of course, I can handle anything.
Don't you think we should help? Maybe, but then we would miss the show.